Today is the feast of Saint Francis Xavier Cabrini. Is the occasion to pray especially for immigrants, that all those families who are divided because of some laws on immigration, they can be reunited and they can be accepted as fully citizens of the United States. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and in the hour of our death. Amen. Mary, seat of wisdom, pray for us. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So last class we studied the soul, and we saw that it is the principle of organization program, and we discovered that it is the principle of life is unifying the whole person, the whole body with the soul. The problem is not to recognize the existence of the soul, it is to, this morning, to see how the soul is united to the body. And we begin by having many opinions. And finally, we try to understand better the teaching of Aristotle and St. Thomas about that union of the body and the soul. So on page 18, the problem, it is a very important problem. The problem of union of the body and the soul, and indirectly also the immortality of the soul also. But we study that next class, tomorrow, not tomorrow, next week, with the human death and immortality. This class of life is very important because not only we reflect on what we are now, but we are almost obliged to continue our reflection on what will become after, because the phenomenon of death is a reality. Of course, so for you the reality is very far, for me it's very near. So we cannot escape that reflection. For this morning, let us go and see the various way of looking at the union of the body and the soul. We say in 1.2, it is intimately related not only to the question of the human immortality, but also to the question of God's existence in the whole area of religion. So when we study the immortality of man, when we study the union of body and soul, all those questions, they are not only in philosophy of man, they go up to other level, up to the level of my relation with God. And we will see that when we study philosophy of God. So the question, that question is excessively important. How my soul is animating my body. The first opinion is the scientific model. That scientific model, we call it sometimes mechanical model, or reductionism. Why? Because we reduce everything to material reality. Marxism, for example, is an example of reductionism. Everything is matter. So some philosophers do not admit the existence of a human life principle as really distinct from the body. But if your philosophy affirms at the beginning that there is only one reality, matter, of course you are obliged to explain everything through matter. Those who study with Father Callahan, those who study atomists, remember the atomists in the Greek, they said everything is made with atoms. Atom means indivisible, we cannot divide the atom. So they say, they are little particles, very little, with a little hook. So a particle with a hook, another with a hook. So they are thrown at random and they are attached, and they have a cat, they have a dog. You know, it was their interpretation. Everything was reduced. Even the soul was atom, like the wind. You know, the wind is something material, but we cannot see. That was the position of the atomist. It is the position also today for materialist. I told you a long time ago, my first year, I thought one of my students gave me a book. It was Cosmology. He said, is that a good book? I say, I will look at it. Open the book, editor. And first, number one, there is only one reality, matter. So, okay, that is, it was from the Communist Party. Of course, if you are in a monism, you know what is the word monism? I explain to everything through only one principle. Mono. Monism, mono in Greek means one, only one. A monk is a mono. Is the one who lives alone. So if we are in a sphere of material reality, and there is nothing outside of the material reality, we are obliged to explain thought, explain life through matter. For example, Lénine said, thought is the secretion of the brain. Thought is the secretion of the brain. You know? So that is the position. It is the position also of positivism. Positivism, 19th century. And the founder of that is Auguste Comte. So positivism, they pretend that the reality is only what we can measure, we can observe. So if we cannot measure that, that does not exist. So it is a reason why we call that also reductionism. So they are influenced by a scientific model. The explanation of the human life is only known and discovered through the physico-chemical analysis. So we explain everything through physics and chemistry. We don't refer to something else, elsewhere. So we are in physis, in Greek, physis means nature. And we don't want to go outside, we stay inside. If we go outside, we are meta-nature, metaphysics. Metaphysics. You know, it is an option. You know, in any system, at the beginning, there is an option. There is an option. Here, they accept the option is only one reality. Other will say, at least after, the reality is the spirit, the body is nothing. There is another option. Okay? Today, the scientific bias appear to be yielding in some quarters to a fuller acceptance of a distinction between biology and physical science. So today, those who study biology, they say, no, we cannot reduce biology to the law of physics and chemistry. Of course, biology obeys the law of chemistry, but chemistry cannot explain all the phenomena in biology. I remember Hans Drich and Claude Bernard, last class I spoke about them. They were scientists, biology, and they said we cannot reduce the human or the animal, the life, to a physical, chemical phenomenon. Biology has more than that. There is life. Bios in Greek means life. So life, can we measure life? As can we measure love? Can we measure freedom? You know, many things escape the measure of scientists. Indeed, the recent discoveries we spoke about last class, especially the genetic code and the DNA, has served to cast a lengthy shadow over a narrow reductionist interpretation of life. So that means now we cannot reduce completely the phenomenon biological phenomena, no life, to only physical reality, chemical reality. So the reason why now we can say those people continue, someone, like some Marxists, continue to affirm that everything is matter. But in fact, one of the reasons it is a lack of faith. It's funny, atheists, they have a great faith. They believe that there is only matter. They believe. They have no proof of that. It is a postulate, a lack of faith. They believe. So here you have a quotation of Kostler. I will read that. The trouble is rather that the conventional categories, concept, and model of physics and chemistry do not deal with the organismic aspect that I have mentioned. Oh, they seem to leave out just what is specific to living things and life processes, and new categories appear to be required. And it is exactly what did Claude Bernard and Hans Driesch when they recognized that there must be an entelechy, a principle of life, a principle of organization, a principle of programmation. Telos, in Greek, telos means end. A K in Greek means to have. So they recognize that in living being, any kind of living being, there is an end in. In them there is an. They have an end in themselves. The word is very important. Entelechy. And in them. Telos, an end. And eki, to have. So that means every living being has an end. And that was affirmed not by philosophers, it was affirmed by scientists, by biologists. Okay? No, they don't say it's a soul, but they recognize we cannot reduce life to matter. We cannot reduce life to an observable phenomenon. Okay? And that is very important because it is a denegation of materialism. It is a denegation of positivism. Yes, brother.
Father, is this the same thing as modern philosophy professors teach, the transcendental materialism, or is this a different?
If you say transcendental materialism, that means everything is matter. The same thing. Okay. Next page. So even in science now we have a new look about the discovery on DNA, for example. A new way to look at living being. Okay. The second approach is we call the dualism Aristotelic of Aristotle. But I will not insist now because we'll come back on that a long time about that. We'll discuss about that. But for the moment, Aristotle viewed the body and the soul as distinct principles, like matter and form, which unite in one essence and one nature. So it is that is the summary of the whole chapter we see after. Okay. The third position is we call materialistic monism of the mechanism. Well, we spoke already about that. It is in fact similar to the first we studied just before, the first option. Very similar. The mechanism considers the body as two distinct terms employed to designate only one identical reality. Well, in fact, that number 4 and number 1 personally is almost the same thing. Okay? In both of them, any kind of materialist philosopher, they don't see the distinction between the soul and the body. For example, they will say, okay, wait a man before his execution, and wait then after. He will see it's the same way. So the soul is nothing, because the soul to exist for them should have a certain way, certain a number of grams or of ounces. No? The soul is not material. So they say the soul is only an appearance. No? An appearance. Okay? But the big problem for them, for materialists, is how to explain that a man is living, and the same man, when he is dead, he has exactly the same organ, the same blood, immediately he's not living. It's the same matter. Can matter produce life? For them, the unique explanation is that when you study evolution, the interpretation, the materialistic interpretation of evolution is there. It is matter through quantity that organize life. For them, life comes from the organization of matter. But we can ask them, who organized the matter? There must be a principle of organization. There is no matter organize itself. You know? They have ear, but they don't want to hear. They have eye, they don't want to see. So the mechanist may speak about soul. They may speak about soul. But for them, the soul is nothing else than matter. It's a subtle matter, for example. Soul is reduced to body, to material particle. Epicure here, Epicure. The atomist, Epicure. The soul is made with very light atoms. The body is made with very heavy atoms, but the soul very light atom. You know? It is a way to explain the distinction between body and soul. But in fact, it is the same thing. The same thing for them. So 4.3, there is no real distinction between matter and spirit. Okay, so I don't insist on that. I will not ask questions on that. It's only to understand the position of Aristotle. So we have to know the other position. So those who are materialists, those now who are, we call spiritualists. For them, matter is not the reality. The reality, to be a man is not the body, to be a man is the thought. The mind. I think, therefore I am. You know? Who said that? Descartes. So they mean the value, what makes a man is not the body. What makes a man is his mind, is his soul. So identification, soul and the body, but does in a way incorporate the body within the soul and treat the body as an epiphenomenon or a projection of mind. In fact, the body is a kind of envelope, but the reality is not the body. The reality is the soul. You have, at the beginning of the church, you have it was very important. That problem is important. You know why? Because someone, they say, oh yes, the Word of God, Jesus, the Son of God, was incarnated, but he was only an appearance of incarnation. That those who affirm that at the beginning of the church, we call the Gnosticism. For them, the reality is not the body. The reality is the soul. So it was impossible that God took a body. So he took a fake body, an appearance of body. And the consequence, when he died on the cross, he was an appearance of death. And when he resurrected, he was an appearance of resurrection. He was fake. In reality, he was not a man. He was only God, you know. He was an heresy. And Muslims are behind that. Monophysist. That means either Jesus is totally God, or Jesus is totally man. Well, in fact, the Muslims come from monophysist. Those they affirm that Jesus is only man. But those Gnostics, they did not accept that Jesus was a man. God cannot become a man. In fact, the big mystery at the beginning of the church, and today also, is the mystery of the incarnation. The stumbling block is incarnation. If we accept incarnation, you accept the rest. The division of the heresies in the church, the division was about the incarnation. Okay? So someone, the monist, for example, they say the material world is illusion, the matter is illusion, and the reality is the mind. Of course, Descartes does not go to say that, but it is in the same line. Without the difference for Descartes, the body is a reality, but is not united, substantially united to the soul. It is the same thing, it is an accidental unity. Like when you are one with your car, when you drive your car, you are in your car, but you are not your car. You know? So my soul is like a driver in a mechanic, my body is a mechanic, and my soul is like the driver moving the mechanic. But there is no substantial union. So spiritual monism denies the reality of matter and restricts the nature of man, of spirit and mind. But that position is not, today I don't think we have a big problem with that. The contrary, we affirm so much the reality of flesh and body. But in the Middle Age, in the 12th century, in that it was the occasion of the foundation of the Dominican, you know that, huh? The Albigism, from Albi in France, Albi. The Albigensi and the Albi. Those people, they, of course, they did not deny the existence of the body, but they despise the body. Huh? They say the body is bad, the body is evil, marriage is evil, everything is matter, is evil. So evil, matter is evil and spiritual is good. In fact, it was a resurrection of Manichaeism. Mani is a Persian priest who affirmed to explain that the yin and the yang for the Chinese, explain the good comes from the mind and the bad, the evil, comes from the matter. So the matter is intrinsically evil, and the mind, the idea, the thought is intrinsically good. So the consequence of that in the Middle Age was we call the Cathar, Cathar or Cathari, or Catharai, Cathar or Catharai. Those people make a sect. It was in the region of Toulouse, south of France, and they began to deny, in fact, the incarnation. To be a Cathar was if you say the body is evil, how we can accept the incarnation? How you can accept the redemption through the death of Jesus and the resurrection? In fact, it was coming back to the first time of the Christianity where someone denied the incarnation, the Gnostic. It was a kind of Gnosticism. And Saint Dominic arrived at that place in Toulouse, and he founded the Dominican to convert those people, and it was the occasion of the foundation of the Dominican. Another position, not far from that is the position of Plato. Of course, Plato did not deny the reality of the body. He did not say the body is intrinsically evil, but the body is an obstacle to the truth, to knowledge, to happiness. And the myth you study with Father Cahan, I'm sure, is the cave. The myth of the cave. So people, then they live in the cave, and they are attached to the wall, and they see puppets, and they see the shadow, and they take the shadow as the reality. But the reality is outside. So the reality is the ideas. The ideas are the reality, and the material things are the shadow of the reality. That is the position of Plato. So the body is the prison of the soul, is the cave. So we cannot say there is union, there is no substantial union with body and soul. That is interesting to see that not everything in the philosophy of Plato was able to adapt, to fit with the revelation. That is an example. Remember St. Paul. You remember St. Paul? A day he went to Athens to speak to the Areopagus, the old and wise man of the city, on the mountain, on the top of the mountain of Athens. And he said, I saw in your cemetery, I saw a monument, an altar to the unknown God. I know this unknown God. And you know, the Athenians, they were very curious, intellectually. So immediately they hear, you say, yes. And they say, oh, yes, we are interested. And St. Paul spoke about Jesus. God incarnated. But, you know, they were very polite. They listened to him. And suddenly St. Paul said, you know, he died. Ah, good, he died. It was a good thing for him. Because dying, he was freed from the cave, you know. St. Paul continued. He said, no, I have a better news. He resurrected. You will come another day to tell that to you, your tale. Huh? Why? They were not able to accept the dogma of resurrection because the body was a cave, a prison, an obstacle to the light, to the knowledge, you know. And we know that Plato was a very influent on the first Christian, with the first Christian. So there was something difficult to adapt. But on the contrary, we think, Aristotle, what he teaches, is very fitting very well with the dogma of resurrection and incarnation. Okay, we'll see that after. Okay, so let us go to Descartes. Well, Descartes, of course, was on the school of Plato. For him, the human is essentially a soul. The definition of man is to think, to be a soul, to be a mind. That meant, I think, therefore I am, I exist. I exist as a thinking machine. But the machine is not myself. What is making me? It is my mind. So in fact, it does not deny the existence of the body. But he said the body cannot give us knowledge. The body is not united to us in a substantial, I am not one with my body. I am united with my body only in an accidental way. So the definition of man for Descartes cannot be man is a rational animal. It can be only man is a reason. Man is rational, period. Okay. Accidentally in a car called body. But accidentally. Okay. So 7.2. And for Descartes, body and soul are united, of course, but because they occupy the same place, in fact, the psychology of Descartes is mechanical. That means the body is like a machine. And don't forget, at the time of Descartes, in medicine, there was a tendency to explain the body as a machine. We have some picture today of that time, and the body was, by analogy, compared to a mechanic. It was the beginning of when people discover more and more the law of mechanics. So, mathematician he was, physician he was, he tried to reduce the body to a kind of beautiful machine. Okay? But the machine only as an instrument, not the machine one with the body. With the soul. The body is useful, the body supports the soul, but the body is not one with. I am a mind, I am not a body. And that influences also spirituality. You know, philosophy and spiritual life, they go together. One of the consequences of that was Jansenism, for example, where the body is despised. You know, the body is not good. Like The same error come in the church about every 400 years. We have the diagnostic at the beginning of the church, you have the Catharai, the Cathars, and after that you have Jansenius for the Catholic. That kind of body has no value. The body is an obstacle to prayer. We must punish the body. Think about Babette Feast. We have the movie. Did use? You should present the movie. And Babette Feast, that sect, Protestant sect, Lutheran sect, and they say the ideal is to have no sensation, to have no emotion. It's a little like Buddhism. No emotion, no sensation, the nirvana. I have no thought, I have no emotion, I am so happy. The void, that is the idea to arrive at that, is the contrary of, for us it's contrary, to be filled with the presence of God, and not to be apart. But that kind of influence of Descartes was great, that influence of Descartes was very great. For example, if you visit France and England, well, England was influenced by sensualist philosophers, like you. Only knowledge comes from my senses, so I must develop my senses. Okay? But French are influenced by Descartes, because even today, Descartes is the official philosopher in French. In France. So the school worldwide, if you visit Paris, for example, or any city, the school is like that. Here we have classes, and here we have the recreation area. Here. So the student, they have to play here. And all that, imagine you cannot play a lot. It's not important. What is important? It is to study. So for many years, if you, for example, if you look at the studio room of the Jesuits, there is almost nothing for physical education. Physical education is, no. We come to class to study and study and study and study, because we are essentially mind. You go to England, at the same time, you have a school, like a box, and around you have a huge playground. It is the model we have in the United States, no? But it's important, it is the body. And the body must run, the body must practice sport, the body must practice football, rugby, etc. A few hours a day, we study. It's two different mentality. Why? Because the philosophy is not something neutral. When you take an option, if you take the option that my reality is only my mind, and you say to the children, you have 20 minutes of recreation, and now you study, You are studying machine. But in other philosophy, we have a lot of time to play, to gymnastics, sport, That is another conception. So that the influence, spiritual influence also, Descartes, in the mortification, the renouncement to the body. The body is bad, the body is occasional. The danger of that, it is to come back to Manichaeism. In fact, the spirituality founded on, or not founded, but inspired by the philosophy of Descartes, leads to a kind of Manichaeism. And St. Francis of Sales reacted against that. He reacted against that mentality that everything material is not good, only the spiritual is good. He said, for example, if you eat some strawberry, it's good. Enjoy the strawberry. Don't do like the people in Babette Feast. They eat they drink a good wine, but they must manifest no emotion, no sensation, because if they have pleasure, it's a sin. Pleasure is a sin. Okay? I go to the other, Leibniz, next page. Well, Leibniz is an idealist philosopher, but influenced by Descartes, but he does not share exactly the position of Descartes. he said the body is important, and the body is not totally independent of the soul. But it is not, they are still accidentally united. You see, the soul remains independent, okay, and the body is independent, essentially independent, but they are united in their activities. So, but this is interesting. They are independent in nature. They have two kinds of nature, two kinds of essence. They are not the same nature of the soul, nature of the body, but they work together. In fact, they work together at the same pace. They work, but at the same speed, at the same manner. They are able to coordinate. Like, for example, when soldiers walk on the street, everyone walks according to his own being, but they work together. So we call that the harmony, the pre-established harmony. And that is that the pre-established harmony has as a consequence that my soul and my body, they work together. They have common activities, but they are not united. That is a little bit tricky, because if they have the same activity, they should be the same reality, united together, you know. Okay? The criticism now, number 8.3, it is a criticism about what we saw just before. So those positions we saw just before, dualism, are artificial and cannot answer the question, for example, how we know. We know that when we study knowledge, we saw that we know through our senses. Or the language. When I speak, I use my body. So how many activities we have using our body? When I take a decision, who put the decision into practice? My body. So that kind of the dichotomy between body and soul cannot explain the most important phenomena we have in our life, knowledge and freedom. Okay? Free act. However, I continue, all share the burden of an excessive artificiality. In fact, you know, when Descartes had a headache, he did not say, it is my body, he has a headache. I am contemplating the divine Lord. Oh, I have a horrible headache, but no, that is my body. No. That is artificial, no. If you are in the chapel in adoration before the Blessed Sacrament, and you have a huge cramp in your leg, do you say, oh, no, it's not important, it's my body, you know. I continue, no, I think you will jump, stand and take care of your cramp, you know. We are one. So that is artificial. You remember the skeptic. They say, oh, I am not sure that thing exists. But when they were in front of a bear, of a dog, and the dog took or the bear, is it a real bear? I think no, artificial. It is real. In fact, don't forget, the doubt of Descartes is a methodical doubt. In reality, Descartes never thought he was one with his body. He was very happy to drink good wine and to have a good meal. But intellectually, they separated that, you know, intellectually. Okay? But what is the danger? Descartes was able to he was aware that his distinction was artificial. But some disciples, they take that as the Bible, you know. And now they follow that as a letter. That is the danger of some philosophy. The philosopher affirms something, but he does not preview the consequences of his affirmation. The good example is Descartes himself. And when Descartes said that the criterion of truth are the idea clear and distinct, that means the idea you can know completely, but if you accept that as a criteria of truth, you are obliged to deny every mystery. So you lead people to rationalism. No faith, only reason. And Descartes was not like that. He was a believer. He believed in God. He was practicing his faith. But he said something, and the consequence of that go farther than what he thought. Yes, brother?
You just answered my question.
Okay. So he cannot solve the problem of origin of intellective knowledge, human language, emotion, and etc. And the learning in education. So we are one. In fact, what we study from September to 2 weeks ago proved the union of the body and the soul. I insisted on that continually because I think it is one of the most important consequences of the class of philosophy of men. It is that union both. We are essentially body and soul as a human being on earth. Huh? Now, the other position, that position of Aristotle, adopted by St. Thomas, is interesting to see that some theologian adapt one philosopher. St. Augustine, he was a friend of Plato.
Yes.
Of course, he did not take everything from Plato. He was not able. And St. Thomas was inspired by Aristotle. You know Aristotle because of St. Albert the Great. We celebrate soon, on the 15th of November. For me, it was I like St. Albert the Great because he was a universal mind. He was a theologian. He was a linguist. He knew Arabic. He knew Greek. He knew many languages. He was a scientist. He observed the plant. He observed the phenomenon. He wrote that. He was bishop. He was spiritual. He was a mystic. He was, in fact, I think Saint Albert the Great is one the saint who is the synthesis of the human person. Saint Albert the Great. And if Saint Albert the Great will not exist, Saint Thomas will not exist. Because it is because of Saint Albert the Great that Saint Thomas knew Aristotle. And Saint Albert the Great translated Aristotle from the Muslim, from Arabic to Latin. And because of that, St. Thomas, it was a revelation for St. Thomas. He was very audacious to use a Greek from the Arabic to illustrate the dogma of faith. Imagine, I use Marx to explain the faith, you know? That is the reason why St. Thomas died. Maybe you will be surprised, he was excommunicated. In Paris, St. Thomas was excommunicated. You have 94 propositions, and St. Thomas died excommunicated, but happily, he died not in the diocese of Paris. He died in another diocese, so he was not excommunicated. But that is interesting. And one of the reasons was that the fact that he used a pagan, Aristotle, and that pagan known worse through the Muslim, to the Arabic. So, you know, so it's interesting to think. St. Thomas he was a pioneer. Huh? He was a pioneer. He was one of the first theologians to use Aristotle. Before him, they were inspired by Plato. Huh? Okay. Well, that parenthesis, when you pray St. Albert the Great on Saturday, I think, don't forget that. Huh? So we call that moderate realism. Huh? Moderate realism. Moderate dualist. Moderate dualist. In fact, they accept a duality of reality, body and soul. But at the same time, it's not a duality accidentally. It is, like Descartes, for example, it is a unity of substance. Unity of substance. I am one with my body, I am one with my soul. I have a toothache, I can say, I have a toothache. I pray in the chapel, I can say, I adore God. The same, I. Body and soul. Okay? So, the principles are not entities, they are not substantially separated, but on the contrary, they are substantially. What is substance? One substance. My substance is at the same time material and spiritual. My I, ego, is spiritual and material. I cannot reduce my I to my soul like did Descartes. For Descartes, my I is my soul. My body is, no. I is my total reality of a human person, body and soul. Okay? In one essence. Huh? So we can accept the definition of Aristotle. Man is a rational animal. His soul and body. So here we have to come back to the notion of form and matter, and we see that the definition of the soul by Aristotle is inspired by his theory. Huh? So we can say soul, the soul is to the body, like the form is to the matter. Analogy. Or I can say the soul is to the body, like the act is to the matter. Potency. And here we have the two definitions given by Aristotle. We call that here hylemorphic definition. And here we call that the metaphysical definition. Why? Because here he uses the theory of matter and form. It is ile in Greek, ile, and morphe. So the soul is the form of the body. And metaphysic, the soul is the act of the body, determining the body. Give him, but here's the first act. To exist. So what gives existence to my body as a human body, not as cell, because my cell existed before. Huh? It is my soul. Okay? So let us go now to the text, number 9.4. You have 5 points, and everyone is important. The first, the soul is related to the body as its form. Secondly, the form spoken of here is internal form. It's not the external form. Huh? Here we have to come back to the idea of matter and form. You know, when we study logic, I insisted on that. Huh? When I say the form is not, it is spheric or square. No, it is the principle of perfection, the principle of determination. So you have to forget the form. For example, if I have a glass like that, well, that is a form of the glass. I can have a glass like that also. You know? But when we speak about form, we don't speak about that. In fact, that is the shape. So, of course, the shape is form also, in Greek morphe. But by analogy, we take that concept of shape and we get that, because what is a shape for a glass? It's a perfection. It is a perfection for a glass to have that shape or that shape. But it's perfect. Perfect means achieve, no? Perfect is achieved. The glass is achieved when it is like that or like that. So I am achieved as a man when I have the form, you know. So the form, the concept of form is excessively important. Huh? And the word form now, for you, after 1 year of philosophy, or a semester, should be totally different. The concept you had when you came at Holy Apostle. Form is a principle of perfection, a principle of determination. For example, the form of the desk here. The form is not square. The form of the desk is the idea put in the wood by the carpenter, you know. You understand that, huh? Very, very important, okay? So the form is internal and invisible. It's not the visible form. Huh? If somebody has a pumpkin, but not that. 3, next page. Therefore, the soul is the first and most basic form of the body. Huh? The soul is not accidental or secondary, for it is substantial. because the soul is the first and most basic form of the body. It is a substantial form. It is the substance of the body. It is a substantial. I cannot be a man without a soul. I cannot be a man without a body. Both are substantial. But one is substantial as form, the other is substantial as matter, quantified matter. Okay? And finally, 5, the soul makes the body to be human body. I am a human body, not because of my body first, because of my form. Why? Because what is my body? Scientifically, what is a body? It is a collection of cells, a collection of atoms. My body is made with atoms of carbon, of hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, calcium, potassium, iron, etc. I am made with atoms. My dog has the same atom, and the chicken has the same atom. What makes different? What makes me that atom become a man and not a dog? It is my soul. The sole principle of determination. When I was born, the first cell, it was only carbon, hydrogen, but that carbon was animated by my soul in such a way I grow not as a cat, I grow as a man. That means the first cell was a human cell. And when the cat is pregnant, the first cell is a cell of a cat. It's not a cell in general, it's the cell of a cat, it's the cell of a man at the beginning. Why? Because the principle of organization at the beginning is my soul. My soul in form, give to the cells, those cells, their perfection. And the perfection, for me, are to be a man, and not to be a cat, or to be a dog. Okay? So, number 9.4, the form or soul of man is the first principle of life within the human composite. Because the form, the soul, is the active determining cause internal to the being. So the form is active. And when we study the causes, the 4 causes, one of the 4 causes is the formal cause. You remember? The formal cause. And we have the material cause. And we saw that the 2 are intrinsic in any body. Intrinsic. So for man, what is the material cause? It is his body. What is for man is formal cause. It is his soul. So material cause and formal cause. Intrinsic to me. I continue. The soul or substantial form is the principle of programmization. You have to correct that if there's no correct. 9.6. The soul or substantial form is the principle of programmization. That means what program? We saw that my body is programmed. Who programmed that? Is my soul. Principle of life, principle of organization. So there is, and so the consequence of that, there is only one soul within one being. I have only one principle of life, animating. The word anima in Latin, anima, to animate. Anima in Latin means soul. Soul. So when something is animated, it has a soul, anima. So what is that? It is my form. And there is only one form for one being. Why? Because my form is substantial. In fact, my body and my soul both are one. Both are one. Both are one. I am a body, I am a soul. I am, not I have. If you say I have, you are Cartesian. Huh? If you say I have, I possess a body, if you say that, you are Cartesian. That means your soul is possessing the body. No. You are a soul, you are a body. You don't possess your body. You are. Interesting, no? Okay. So as we saw before, on the marvelous hierarchical ordering of the internal structure, etc., can only be the result of the unique organization within. How is possible? Trillions of cells work together for the good of I. Of I. I. All my cells, trillion, are at my service. The service of my I. How we can explain that? We can explain that only through a unique principle of organization. If you have two, the division. One. Okay? So since the soul is the supreme organization principle, there is only one soul. One soul animating by one body. My body is one as long as I am animated by my soul. But the day my soul say, goodbye, body, there is no more body. There is bodies. Trillion of bodies. What makes the unity of your person, body? Your soul. When you die, what happens?
No, it's union.
It is accidental union. And little by little, sometimes very fast, if you are cremated, you become dust. You are from dust, you become dust. Ash Wednesday. Yes. When the people will see you in your tomb, who will see me in my tomb, they will not see me. I'm not here. They will see million, trillion of cells still organized in the form of Father Michel Legault, but in a few years, the form will be. You understand that? Huh? The unity of my body is provoked, conserved, kept, caused by my soul. Okay? Reflect on that. Huh? Of course, we continue to respect the body of the dead. It is the body of what was Father Legault. When you take a relic of Saint Francis Xavier, or Saint Ignatius of Loyola, or a relic of Padre Pio, a bone, even his body is there. Is that his body? It was his body. What makes your body your body? It is because you are animated by your soul. We saw that scientists today affirm that every 7 years, all our cells are renewed. It is a continual renewing of our cells. So if, for me, it's my 11th body. Now I'm almost at my 12th body. But I am the same. What make my at home? What make I eat chicken and the chicken becomes me? Why it becomes me? Because of my soul. Because there is a principle of unification. The cells, the atom of the cow, are no more the atom of the cow, they become the atom of myself. They are my atom now, for a certain time. No? That's a meditation for November. No? Okay, page 23. So the soul is, because it is a superior, can assimilate, can, you know, what we can, if we have more, you can do less. Huh? So the human soul is one animating our vegetative and sensitive activities. Huh? Number 9.9, in that soul is indivisible and omnipresent, huh? Immanent to every part. My soul is everyone in my person, and I cannot divide my soul. You see, oh Father, if an accident, I lose my arm. Okay, you lose your arm, but you don't lose your soul. I give you, it's important, if you are gaining weight, do you have more soul? A baby, look at yourself, huh? When you were a baby, oh, beautiful baby, now it's high, okay. And now you look at yourself, we were 6 pounds, 8 pounds, and now you have 100 to 50 or 90 pounds. So you have more soul? No. The same. But the soul is not divisible. You cannot divide the soul. The soul is present. It is omnipresent in every your body. At the same time, it is not located in any place specifically. Why? Because the fact it can organize the union of that, we can say at the same time I am in, my soul is in my body, but a kind of control, domination. At the same time, my soul transcends my body. It is spiritual. A proof of that, your body is hungry. My body is hungry. And your soul say, no, you will fast. Why? Because your soul is also transcendent. We are spiritual. And we see that in knowledge. Huh? We can receive the all material thing and know that. So we have the control of our body. That means we are above. At the same time, we are present. In fact, the soul is like, you know, God is immanent and transcendent. We can say the soul is the same. The soul is immanent to every function of my body. My body is unified by my soul. At the same time, my soul is also, because it is spiritual, it can transcend time and space. So by my soul, I can go to the past, I can go to the future. I can obtain the spiritual reality. It is what we studied just before. Huh? The spirituality of the soul through the spiritual activity of knowledge and spiritual activity of free decision. You know? So the soul cannot be limited, cannot be restrained. If you lose weight, you don't lose soul. Huh? Your soul is not proportion to your volume. Unity of being. Huh? All members are in soul. Totality, I spoke about that. Huh? In fact, the part of your body are one with the whole. Why? Because they are united by the same principle of life. It is your soul that unites your arms, your fingers, your eyes together. Right? Because we saw that in biology, that there is a principle of unification. That Saint Paul speaks about that in the, but he did not know biology very well, but what he said is interesting. And the body, my arms, and all my members are the service of the whole body. Huh? What makes the unification of my body, the oneness, the uniqueness of my body is my soul. Huh? And because of that, I can say I. I can say I not because of my body. I can say I because of my soul. But my soul is one with my body. So that means every action I do, action is an action of my body, but at the same time is an action of my soul. Is the reason why I am responsible for my action. I can control my action. Not only I animate my action, but I can give to my action a direction. And that is the foundation of ethics. Huh? Ethics is based there. I have the control, the possession. I can indicate oriented my own activities. The next page, 9.11, the human individual transcends all its parts. I spoke about that. Huh? Number 3, it transcends them all, having being in itself. At the same time, the individual is distinct and distinguished. My soul is in me, and my soul is, I will say, over me, because it is spiritual. And that is interesting to see that a spirit can move matter. Sometimes you say, it's possible that the demon or an angel can move matter. Yes, it's possible. The proof. We are a living proof of that. It is my spiritual reality, my soul, that move my material reality. So number 12, very important number also. First, the body and the soul taken separately cannot be viewed as the total human essence. So the body and the soul are one essence. Secondly, the human is a third thing resulting from the union of the body and soul. 3, consequently, only an unqualified affirmation can be made of the total composite. So I cannot say, I am a... One can say, I am a human, but I may not properly say, I am a soul, I am a body. Yes, I am, but I am both together. I am both together. I am both together. So, in fact, my body is myself. My soul is myself. All that is myself. It is the grandeur of man. It is also the difficulty of being a man. Yes?
Well, I'm just curious, obviously in the West we've gone to this materialistic view of the soul and the body being separate. From your experience in Africa, do they have that same, have they followed the cart down that road, or have they kind of stuck to this?
For Africans, it is evident they have a strong, faith, and for them it's evident that the soul is enduring, is permanent. That for them is in fact their religion, the traditional religion, we call that animist. Animist. In Africa, the traditional religion we call animist, animism or animist. Animism. That means the reality for them is the soul. Is the soul. The body is important also. Is the reason why they have a great respect for the body. It is a problem for Ebola. The problem with Ebola is that the people want to take care of their dead, but if they touch the dead, they contract the disease. And they have a great respect for the dead, like Chinese in the past. Huh? You know, they have so great, they bury the people in front of the house. And the day I celebrated the funeral, the parish priest, he said, Father Michel, can you go? I went to the bush to celebrate the funeral, and it was the time to bury it. He said, where is the tomb? The tomb was inside the house, under the bed of the wife. So imagine, because the dead continue to live with the living. And for them, the mystery of it's not a mystery. It's a mystery, but you know, it is something they believe before they be Christian, that the life continue after that. Huh? Okay. Next page, page 25. I will try to finish that before it's possible. The uniqueness of human self, self-presence. But the capacity of number 1.3 of reflective self-consciousness. What makes characteristic of man the capacity of interiority, to be able to enter in his mind, in his own personal life, to reflect, reflection. The greater possession of intellective and volitional life. In number 3.1, only we humans are able to know who we are, to know what we are doing, etc. And number 2.2, only man can ask fundamental questions about existence. Only man can be a metaphysician. Your dog cannot be a metaphysician. He lived the present time. He is not anxious if you die in 3 days or 3 years. For him, there is no problem. If he's well fed, no problem. 3, through free choice also. Huh? We can, that is very important, we can not make totally, we can orient our destiny. Sometimes people say, you are happy because you can orient your life in such a way you will be happy. That means you have the control. You have not a total control, but you have a control of your life. The proof you are here. You can be elsewhere, no? If you are here because you decided to come here, no? So you have a control. When you decide to marry, you have a control. Animals don't have that. That's proper to man. It is freedom, intellect and will. No? The two characteristics make it people apart the rest. And next page, man transcends the world. We are in the world, in the matter, and we are above the world. Is the reason why God gave us in the Genesis the dominion. To dominate the earth, we must be above the earth. Man at the same time is an animal. He is in the earth with other animals, but he has a capacity of dominating, to be above through his intellect and through his will. That is one. We know, when we are in front of that, we see, recognize the grandeur, the magnificence of to be a human being, but at the same time, the extreme responsibility of being a human. Okay? So we transcend the world, at the same time we are in immanence and transcendence. My soul is immanent to my body, at the same time I am a control of my body. I am immanent in the creation, but at the same time I am transcendent the creation. It is because I am transcendent the creation that sometimes men think he is God. He wants to control creation, you know, because of that capacity we have. We are at the image of God. Don't forget that. Okay? So nothing is alien to us. We are interested by everything. My knowledge is open to the infinite. My will is open to the perfect happiness. So at the same time, in fact, we are incarnate. We are soul incarnate in the body. We live a kind of incarnation. I can say, but man is also a mystery of incarnation. A mystery. Man is a mystery of incarnation. To be an animal, and to be at the same time a God. Psalm number 8, read that. No? You made us like a God. Why we are like a God? Because we are intelligent. We are able to dominate nature. At the same time, we are in nature. And that by analogy, I say incarnation, of course it's not the same incarnation as Jesus. But in fact, what is incarnation? God, the Son of God, made flesh and enter matter. Man is the junction of spirit and matter. We have the bridge between angels and material things. It is a great honor to be a man. Sometimes they admire dogs, oh, beautiful dogs. They are manifested for dogs, but what's most important, we should have the same manifestation for beautiful babies. We should exalt the generation of man and education, etc. You know, if we are, that is important to understand man, because if we understand man, we have the value. If we know the value, what is a man, our economy should be adjusted to what is a man. The center of the universe is not money, it's not Wall Street. The center of the universe is man. So everything should be done in relation with the good of man. And when we study social ethics, it is exactly what we see. We have to change our world. The world is centered on money, on benefit, on pleasure, but the reality is man as intelligent and man as free. And next paragraph we study, next class, but that beautiful machine, no, beautiful being is not eternal. The problem of death. So that is a continuation. Okay. Have a good weekend, brothers and sisters.
The yellow would look really good.